Hey everyone, Shauna here. Time for level up number 8. This is not the level up that I thought I would be making, but it has been born entirely by the fact that it is Women's History Month, and it was born by some behind the scenes conversations I had right around the time of International Women's Day. And the questions and the objectives that we want to achieve this video are basically what is the difference between being a performer versus being performative, and how do we set our organizations and our work environments so that everyone is empowered to perform at the highest level. So basically, I want to tell you about the 6 types of organizations that I've worked with from top to bottom. There is a hierarchy here and why it matters. And so I'm not going to be naming names except for one that specifically deserves to be called out, but I want you to reflect on where your organization lies within this and what your role is, especially if you are a leader, a CEO, a board member, a project manager. And so this is based on my experience. I work at so many high-level organizations, not-for-profits, for-profits, board level, and I see all types of work environments. So buckle up, here we go. So number 1 is what I like to call the A+ student. This type of organization is so focused on the mission. They're so curious that they seek for answers, they seek for performers, they seek for good people, high and low. They can literally be in the cafeteria and strike up a conversation about their product and their mission. And by doing so, by that passion, they're looking in every corner. They're leaving no stone unturned for answers and for good people. So when you hear someone say, I'm colorblind, or I don't see color, I don't see gender, there are 2 ways to look at it. And the good way, we'll get to the bad way in a little bit, but the good way is because people are so driven that they're actively seeking out people who may have not have otherwise had an opportunity. And in doing so, they're setting themselves to perform. I'm lucky enough to work with at least one organization like this, and you better believe it fuels our mission. And, regardless of day, of time of day, of time of night, we are so focused on what we're doing. So the next grade, one category down from that, still an A minus type of organization, is one who they're not necessarily so driven by the mission that they're seeking out the best people, but they're so mindful of 2 things. First of all, the people they serve, as well as changing social norms and the need to be sensitive and respectful. And so it is mission adjacent, and it is imperative to incorporate this in everything that they do. And I work with at least 2 types of organizations that are so good about saying, well, this isn't core to our mission. Our mission is STEM or space or innovation or technology. But we realize how much people matter to that. And so we're still going to keep it mission adjacent, and it helps them, again, set their workplace up to be inclusive of all people, all perspectives, all experiences, so that everyone feels like they can bring their ideas to the table. The next level from that is probably the B+ students, in that they're very much like the A minus students, in that this organization is still very service driven, driven to bring people together, to recognize that it's important to have an equitable environment, but the execution may be a little bit lacking. But this type of organization is very fixable because they're willing to learn from their mistakes, and there's a culture of psychological safety where you can speak up when execution on this front wasn't done well. And there's definitely at least one organization I work with on this level. But, I believe very much in the power to change and to do good things and to learn from our mistakes and go upwards, onwards, higher, forward. So that was kind of like the B+ organization. So now we're kind of getting into the less desirable grades. So at the C level organization, C-, it turns out that these organizations totally misinterpret what it means to say, I don't see color, I don't see gender. And in fact, they are hopping on the bandwagon of DEI, of diversity, equity, inclusion, because it seems like it's fashionable to do so, to make it seem like it's a welcoming workplace. And also because there might be opportunities behind that. There might be granting or funding or investment opportunities around that, or because they fear the bad PR. And so in these types of organizations, it's very frustrating because when you work behind the scenes at the higher echelons, it becomes very apparent that This is not a priority. It's not being integrated into the day-to-day operations of this type of environment. And if you are one of these leaders, and I definitely work with a few organizations like this, that I came on board because I was very happy to support a philosophy of finding the best of the best, supporting excellent missions. I want you to take an honest look at yourself, because you are actually not setting your workplace up to succeed, because you are not seeking high and low for the best performers. So in this context, when you say, I'm colorblind or I'm gender blind, it's a bit performative, because you're not recognizing that equality does not include, is not akin to equity. Equity is giving everyone the same chance to perform, the same chance to come to an opportunity, or the same chance to provide their ideas, or the same chance to have an experience. So what I mean by that is, when we look at these organizations, they will for example, put out a hiring call, but they won't look at traditionally underrepresented groups, because they don't recognize that these traditionally underrepresented groups may not even be able to get to the application phase. So this is the difference when you're saying this organization is colorblind in a negative context versus what we talked about earlier. Okay, now we're getting really down into the dregs. Okay, so the D minus organizations. These are ones who totally and openly say that, DEI is just a passing fad. It actually hurts minorities because it assumes that they don't need a leg up, or it hurts underrepresented groups, and it also hurts more qualified applicants. Luckily, I don't work with any of these organizations, and if it turned out I did, you'd see my resignation papers tomorrow. But the problem is, this is a highly flawed argument. If we really truly are hindering our organizations by quote unquote diversity hires, you would see it reflected in the numbers. You would see performance standards go down. You would see customers and revenue go down. So enough said about that. Don't waste our times on that. But the sixth, the F minus organization deserves a special calling out, because not only does this type of organization not take any of the DEI, equity, uplifting multiple perspectives, backgrounds, disciplines seriously, they're actually actively toxic and harmful. Racism, casual racism, misogyny are a day-to-day part of this workplace. And the problem is, you might ask, why are people even staying within these organizations? Why are they coming to these organizations? And the answer may be, we have no choice. And so this one I will name deserves a special calling out. Medicine, you need to change, because when I was training myself, and so many of us have had very horrific experiences with just blatant racism, misogyny, inequity, and it's to the point where it'd probably be criminal. So I am calling that one out, because I do have a commitment to making sure that anyone who works with me or works under me does not have that experience. But I am recognizing that we in medicine need to do better. Okay, so there we go. At the end of the day, there are 6 types of work environments, 6 types of organizations that we can work with, that we can either work at the upper echelons, focus on the mission, seek the best of the best, be so purpose-driven that we are bringing others with us on our journey to the very other end of the spectrum. And I want you to ask yourself, at the end of the day, within your work environment, are you setting your organization up to be a performer or performative? All right, guys, see you next time. Want to hear your thoughts, want to see what else you want covered. Shauna out.